Meanwhile, 35% Morel felt Pito Zen and still had the confidence to fight a Royal Guard 1v1. Hey, what's up everybody? It's LeeLos, and today we're talking about why Youpi versus the Palace Hunters is genius. Stay steady in pursuit of your dreams and goals. You're born to win, you're made for greatness, and I definitely believe in you guys. Keep up the great work each and every day. So Youpi versus the Palace Hunters was a battle between one of the most dangerous and powerful royal guards versus a team of veteran hunters doing everything they can to defeat this monster. Today we're going to analyze every single power-up and ability these characters display to explain overall why Youpi versus the Palace Hunters is genius. At the start of the Chimera Ant arc, after seeing Pito's aura up close, LeeLos states he does not think Morel, Netero, and Nove could beat Pito. Morel's response highlights some of the key concepts in Nen combat. The outcome of a Nen battle is always in fluctuation. You usually don't know your opponent's ability, and a slight hesitation can lead to victory or defeat, essentially saying that judging who will win a Nen battle based on raw aura alone is not very reliable in most fights. The Palace Hunters versus Youpi is one of the best examples of this in the entire series, where very skilled professional hunters are using plans, teamwork, and battle experience to overcome massive stat disadvantages. Just about every hunter in the Palace invasion has a moment where they shine in the face of adversity. However, Morel's mentality and performance throughout the entire invasion is massively underrated. Even though he started the invasion at only 35% of his peak condition, he still squares up with Poof 1v1, and when Poof analyzes his mentality, he states that Morel was still brimming with confidence. This is in huge contrast to Nove, who broke down entirely from seeing Poof's end. Meanwhile, 35% Morel felt Pito Zen and still had the confidence to fight a Royal Guard 1v1. It is possible that Nove was using Zetsu when he was hit by Poof's end, so maybe that's the reason as to why Nove mentally broke so quickly, or maybe it's just that the Palace Hunters truly are just far more brave than Nove is. The invasion begins, and the hunters are immediately faced with two unexpected obstacles: encountering Youpi immediately and Zeno's Dragon Dive ability. Despite putting time aside specifically to talk about potentially unexpected obstacles, the concept of Youpi just guarding the stairway never once came up in discussion. Killua was the only one who knew what Zeno's Dragon Dive ability was, so in theory, Killua should have reacted the fastest to the unexpected scenario of Zeno's Dragon Dive, but Gon actually locked in even faster than Killua did. This was a huge moment for Gon, and it gets echoed later on, where Poof says out of all of their enemies, Gon had the greatest willpower. When Knuckle hits Youpi with his Hatsu ability, the narrator states that Knuckle had been in over 5,000 battles, and fighting people that were stronger than he wasn't even a rare occurrence to him, which is further proof that in Hunter x Hunter you can beat people who have stat advantages over you. But Youpi was on a completely different level from anyone he had ever fought before. The fact that all of these guys survived their battle against the Royal Guard, it likely led to them all improving vastly as hunters, because now they have the Royal Guard as a point of reference for insane power. Unless they go to the Dark Continent, they'll likely never meet any enemy that will be able to intimidate them with their aura really ever again. A lot of these guys even felt post-Rose Merowim's end, so yeah, outside of the Dark Continent, there's really no one who's going to be able to intimidate them with their aura really ever again. Being able to fight the Royal Guards and survive is a massive confidence boost for these guys. Based off of Knuckles' experience and instinct, he's able to quantify how strong people are. This is also hinted at with other characters like Hisoka, Killua, and Netero. All three of them in some way, shape, or form talk about the strength level of other characters. We see Netero say that Pito's stronger than he is. We see Hisoka giving a power scaling rank to the Zodiac, and we see Killua look at Pito's aura and then compare it to the aura of Netero, Nove, and Morel. So after Youpi breaks the staircase, Morel, Shoot, and Knuckle, in an instant they think of a combo attack to trick Youpi so that Morel can run past him. The narrator states they had to make this plan without speaking to each other because they didn't want to give their position away. Despite this, Knuckle still knew what to do without Morel saying anything, which shows that these guys have great teamwork. This battle, it also also gives you a good understanding of how fast the hunters are. After that small battle with Youpi, running all the way up the stairs to Poof, putting up Smoky Jail, after all of that, only 8 seconds had passed. That also shows you that Morel puts up Smoky Jail pretty quickly as well. Smoky Jail itself is a pretty fast technique, so Shoot fighting Youpi 1v1 was actually pretty impressive. He was able to land an attack on him during their exchange and dodged a lot of his attacks as well, but their entire fight at most only lasted about 20 seconds, and Shoot was about to die at the end of that. We see the timer when Shoot falls to the ground. It was 22 seconds, and Knuckle steps in and gets Youpi's attention right after that. Also, other than the timer, you can also tell how much time has passed by looking at Knuckles' Hatsu ability, because it accrues interest every 10 seconds. So every time it says that you've accrued interest, you know another 10 seconds have passed. Shoot 1v1ing Youpi for about 20 seconds and nearly dying in that time. That might have actually been longer than what Killua did in Godspeed, because Killua's entire Godspeed onslaught, you never see Knuckles' Hatsu ability accrue interest during that time. But it is possible that maybe interest was accrued, but Togashi just didn't show it, so that's a possibility too. This is where we see some impressive speed feats from Knuckle. Knuckle is similar to a gazelle, where cheetahs, for example, they reach their top speed and then they get tired quickly. Knuckle, he can stay at top speed for a long time, and he has a lot of confidence in his running speed. Not only is he running away from an angry Youpi for a long period of time, but we also see him on screen dodging attacks from Youpi too. An interesting element about Knuckles' character is he's overall very well-rounded. His only glaring weakness is that he's actually too kind. This is pretty much blatantly shown to us multiple times throughout the series. He almost loses to Gon a couple times during their training arc due to just simply being too nice. And then here, a similar thing happens. Knuckle has some dialogue to himself where he says if Knuckle just keeps running away and avoids Youpi, Youpi's going to go bankrupt in 10 minutes. So really, Knuckle doesn't even need to fight him anymore. They're likely to win this battle if Knuckle just avoids him, because Youpi doesn't really consider these guys a threat anyway. But because Knuckle's too nice, when he sees that Shoot was humiliated by Youpi not considering him a real opponent, Knuckle risks the entire plan to try and punch Youpi in Shoot's honor. After seeing Youpi's aura explosion just one time, he instantly thought of a perfect plan in order to defeat Youpi. Knuckle is never once referred to as a Nen Master. Despite having incredible amount of battle experience and being stated to be physically on par with Kite, he's still not called a Nen Master. Meanwhile, Morel, when he's giving advice to Killua at the start of the Chimera Ant arc, he's explaining to him what it takes to become a Nen Master. So if Morel himself is not a Nen Master, he's likely close to it. I mean, he's giving advice on what it takes to become one, and Netero's right there next to him not saying anything about it. So Morel is either a Nen Master or very close to it. It's also interesting to wonder whether or not Morel can use N. We never see him try to use it. When Youpi's getting speed blitzed by Godspeed, he states that every single one of the Palace Hunters has less than a tenth of his strength. This implies that Youpi himself can roughly tell how much aura his opponents have too. Maybe that's just an animal instinct thing because Youpi's made out of magical beasts, or maybe it's just due to being a royal guard, because the royal guards and Meruem for the most part were essentially born Nen Masters. It always seemed like Youpi was the exception to that. He's the one who struggled the most to understand Nen combat. He's constantly getting tricked and outsmarted by his opponents in this fight, but because he's being outsmarted by these Nen abilities, it actually leads to his perspective shifting. He goes from thinking he can just easily overpower these guys to respecting their strength as the battle goes on, and respecting Nen as a whole due to these fights. Before Poof flies off with his weapon, Morel had made 89 smoke clones, but now that his weapon's taken away, he can't make any more of them, and he's immediately confronted with Youpi alongside with Knuckle. So now you have an exhausted Morel comboing with Knuckle trying to defeat Youpi. So this battle of Morel and Knuckle working together to fight Youpi, it actually goes on for a very long time. Partway through their battle, you see the timer and it says that it's at the 7-minute and 29-second mark. And at the end of the battle, it's around the 11-minute 39-second mark. They're honestly holding their own while Morel's in a massively nerfed state for quite a while. They're actually landing attacks on him as well. So Youpi evolves mid-fight, and he had burned through so much of his aura that now he was down to less than 500,000 total remaining aura. And the narrator states that at this point, no matter what Youpi does, he's going to go bankrupt 11 minutes and 43 seconds into the mission. When Knuckle deactivates his ability, we get to see how far they were into the palace invasion. Right when Knuckle deactivates his ability, it was at the 11 minute and 39 second mark. That means Youpi was actually about to go bankrupt in less than 5 seconds. They were less than 5 seconds away from Youpi going bankrupt and them having a very good chance of winning the fight against a Youpi who can't use aura anymore. Another thing to consider is that if Morel entered the palace invasion at full power, he wouldn't have just been lying on the ground tired, and he would have made way more clones. So it took Youpi that long, but Morel at full power can make 216. Youpi probably would have went bankrupt before he finished killing all of Morel's clones. It should be noted that Youpi was somewhat holding back in this fight. He knew where Morel was once the clones started to dwindle down, but he chose to take out the remaining clones out of respect before killing Morel. But still, all that being said, if Morel had 216 clones on the battlefield instead of just 89, it's much more likely that Youpi would have went bankrupt before the clones were gone, and then Morel and Knuckle would have been able to jump No-Nen Youpi together. Also, this scene where Knuckle deactivates his ability to save Morel's life is another example of Knuckle's big weakness being that he's too kind. Youpi, the only royal guard who was not made out of humans, he was made out of magical beasts instead. By the end of this fight, he was acting the most like a human out of all of the royal guards. He was the only royal guard that showed genuine admiration for his enemies. He straight up tells Morel and Knuckle that he respects them. It's a huge leap of character development for Youpi because at the start of this battle, he treated Shoot like garbage, but now he's calling them amazing. Based on Youpi's position as a royal guard, killing Morel and Knuckle and Melioron, it should have been Youpi's priority, but he chooses to spare them simply due to respect. He respects Morel and Knuckle so much that not only does he tell them to take Morel to a hospital, but he also tells them they can come back and fight him again and they'll fight as equals. And he leaves them with a true admiration for not only the hunters that he fought, but also a deep respect for Nen as a whole. It's just a very interesting piece of the narrative where the most monstrous of the royal guard is the one that acts the most human. He still overall seemed to struggle the most with understanding Nen combat, but now he had a deep respect for it. So if Youpi had survived this battle, I think he would have become the strongest of the royal guard. Overall, this fight with the palace hunters versus Youpi, it's one of my favorite fights in the entire series. Not only do you get to see how fast and powerful the hunters are, but you get to see that with battle experience, with planning, and using their abilities wisely, they can still defeat characters that are a lot stronger than them. No-Nen Youpi would still be pretty powerful though, because we saw that Ramot, even without Nen, was decently strong. He was able to survive a rock from Gon at the start of the Chimera Ant arc. So No-Nen Youpi would be considerably stronger than Ramot, but Knuckle on his own might have been able to handle him. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think if Knuckle had actually sacrificed Morel and just fought No-Nen Youpi on his own, do you guys think he would have won? It should be noted that Angry Kid Gon was stated to be stronger than No-Nen Pito. So do you think that Knuckle would have been able to defeat No-Nen Youpi? Let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to say, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate the views. I appreciate the comments. Like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one.